right, everybody. For those of you who haven't been here before, well, or haven't been here in a long time, haven't seen this before, this is our wall of fame where we honor those people who have gone above and beyond for Cachalot. We have many people who have gone above and beyond for local scouting, but this is particular to Camp Cachalot. Those who have really done a lot here in program, in raising money, in physically coming out here and working to keep the facilities updated or to teach courses and to run the program that makes this such a magical place. It would be a beautiful place if it were just a forest, but it wouldn't be quite as magical. It's magical because of all the young people and older people who've come here over the decades to learn. We choose our honorees every year by your nominations. So if you're thinking of somebody right now who you'd like to see up there in a steel plaque on the wall someday, please write up a nomination. There's information on our website. We have a lesson up there about how to write a good nomination because it's published in our newsletter and people read them and they write in their votes or email in their votes. That's how people get up there. So sometimes people will send in a nomination and they won't quite give enough background information for others who may not have known that person so that they can say, wow, that's really amazing. I want to see that person up there as well. That's part of our mission as a Cachalot Alumni Association. Help promote and protect this place, to give our input where we can with programming, but also to honor the memory and traditions of Cachalot, to always keep that alive no matter what. This is our 10th year as an association, our 10th homecoming, and this is also the 50th anniversary of the fire. Anyone who spent time here knows of the fire, the legend of the fire to me, and the memory of the fire to some of you. Later on today, after we conclude our honoring ceremonies, we'll open the trading post, which is back here now, and there's some neat t-shirts that Eric Willett had made for the 50th anniversary of the fire. Kind of cool, among other Cachalot things. So, without further ado, to honor our inductees for this year, we have 3 inductees. The first of which, Mr. John Humphreys, which Mr. Dennis Prefontaine will speak for. Dennis Prefontaine.
Thank you, Brian. Well, good afternoon. It's been a long, long time since I addressed the gathering of scouts and scouters in this very spot. In fact, it was 1969 was the last time I stood here to address anybody. Charlie Humphreys and I served well on the camp staff here for a number of years, and John Humphreys affected my life in a very positive way, Jack. John Humphreys served as the Camping and Activities Chairman for 8 years, during one of the most stressful times in the council, camp, and community history, 1958 to 1966. John was a Silver Beaver recipient that obviously included all the requisite scouting, church, and community services over a long duration of time. That included also serving as the council commissioner. Being an engineer, Goodyear Tire Rubber Company in the south end of New Bedford by profession, helped him direct the complete infrastructure, vision, needs, and planning of Cachalot's restoration. John was an extremely dedicated and resilient man that was synonymous with his leadership to Cachalot's total restoration efforts during the period after the 1964 devastating fire. His committee leadership included names married to that effort, and earlier Wall of Fame honorees like Carney, Gilmet, Fontaine, my dad, Paul and Moss, plus Rogers and Spencer. While most recall Cachalot's restoration as very facilities-oriented, with structures like the then new trading post, which has now been replicated, the duplex, the council chapel, plus storage building, chef's cabin, ranger's house, that allowed for the first time full-time ranger on the camp, plus new roads, water system, and expanded and diverse campsites. John had a programmatic vision as well, given the fact that the duplex would allow for the camp then hiring and thus accommodating older adult staff and their families, adding to the depth and maturity of the camp operation. Little is also known about John's leadership of aiding and securing the donations to fund the massive restoration effort. John not only seeked out that funding, but also sold the vision to community groups like Rotary and Kiwanis. Jack and Sandy, folks, therefore I am honored and endorsed to have been able to recommend the selection of John Humphreys as a Wall of Fame honoree before his efforts and his name are lost to all time. Thank you.
Ha 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 ha! 50 years is right.
Our inductees every year are given a glass frame plaque to commemorate their induction into the Hall of Fame, and then a stainless steel plate, their name and year, will be placed on the wall to sit up there for as long as we keep our organization and our camp going. It's kind of neat when you come down towards sunset and the sun hits those stainless steel plates. It's a pretty neat place. Also, to give you a little idea, we had a cold spring this year. It was a little chilly. Things are off to a little slower start. Not that we didn't weed whack. Normally all of our flowers, these are all flowers behind us in bloom right now, and last year was perfect for homecoming, and this year it'll be perfect next week. You can come back next weekend and see it. Just got a few here right now, so I wish they were blooming. Our second inductee of the day, Mr. Dura Higgins, and his son Daryl is here to speak to Mr. Dura Higgins.
Out of 8 kids of Durs. We actually had 2 Girl Scouts and 6 Boy Scouts. He's the second generation scout, and I did a little history, and I figured I'd let you know a little bit about him. From the time he started in Scout, he didn't start in Cachalot, he started in Cachalot Council. And I'm losing my sight. My father started his journey as a Cub Scout in Den 1, Pack 1 in Middleborough in 1934. Rising through the ranks, he became a Boy Scout in the Farm Patrol Troop 15 in 1937 in Middleborough. A little bit of a story that goes along with this. It's a tragic story, but it could have been a lot worse. In December 1937, when my father started in the Boy Scouts in Middleborough, his scoutmaster, Mr. Dunn, who was the pastor in Middleborough, took the scouts right here out to Ferring Pond for a hike in December. One of the little boys ventured out onto the ice and fell through the ice. One of the boys tried to go out to get him, but the scoutmaster called him back, and the scoutmaster went out onto the ice and ended up falling in himself. When he fell in, 2 of the boys fell in that were standing around as well. It says here that they ventured onto the ice. The scoutmaster went in to rescue the boy and fell along with 2 other scouts. The scoutmaster had to let go of the first boy who fell in, and the boy sank and drowned. The Scoutmaster pushed the other two scouts out of the water together, first trying to use a coach to put together to get their Scoutmaster out in a failed attempt. They tried to use a human chain, but they failed. Working together, some of the boys went to build a fire to keep the boys that had fell into the water warm, and my father and another boy found a raft with a pole. Using their Boy Scout skills, they tied a pole to a raft and pushed that raft out that their Scoutmaster grabbed onto, that they could drag him back into safety. And then the Scoutmaster was so out of it that he could not drive. The boys actually had to drive back to the headquarters and get help to try and get the other boy, which ultimately passed away. So that was just a short story of what my father was all about and what the scouting experience does for all the kids, teaching them on things to do and how to react in different situations. He became a part of the Explorers in 1943 and the Air Scouts in 1945. He became an Assistant Scoutmaster in 1946 till 1950. In 1954, he became a part of the Cachalot Council, working with the Cub Scout Pack 35 of Onset from 1967 to 70. Then he moved on to the troop from 1971 to 87, and stayed a part of council until he passed away in 1988. The program actually says 87, but it was 88. During this time, he has earned numerous awards and certificates. There's so many that I couldn't even read them all off. It would take so long. He earned a Silver Beaver in 1981, and he earned the Chief of Cachalot in 1983 for his acknowledgement and dedication to the Cachalot Council. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Hello, my name's Dick. I'm also one of his sons. Just so you know that scouting has always been part of our lives, and we've actually got several generations still going. We actually have 5 generations involved in our family. We've already still got new ones starting up that are Cub Scouts as well, so that it's something that we believe in as our family, that scouting is never done. It's always going to be part of our lives. And we thank you very much for this induction.
Brian?
Due to a mix-up, Darren was supposed to get back to me and let me know who was going to do the speaking for Dura. I happened to be away in Kentucky for a family emergency, but I ended up writing a lot of stuff down on a piece of paper as I drove, not knowing whether or not Darryl was going to speak. So I want to put my 2 cents in. I can't remember everything I wrote down, but I do remember one thing, and I think it's really, really important about the Wall of Fame. I think if you go to the Wall of Fame and you read some of the names and read some of the bios of the people up there, they were the Lone Ranger. They were Batman. They were all the lead figures, the guys that sat down and drew out plans for buildings and the engineers. But there were no Tontos and there were no sidekicks. Dura was a sidekick. I remember your dad from the 70s. I remember Dura in a green pair of pants, in a green shirt, with a pipe, smoking away. Dura didn't design any buildings. Mr. Humphreys designed the building. Dura cut the wood and drove the nail. Mr. Prefontaine designed a dining hall. Dura cut pipe and welded. Dura was the worker bee.
And that's what we want to do with the association. We want to recognize the work of these, not the names, not the Tontos or the Green Hornets. We want all the sidekicks, those guys that were there weekend after weekend after weekend. You know, we put in a water system. Some genius designed a water system. Dura was the man with the shovel, because we didn't have backhoes back then. He dug the holes. And those are the people that we want to recognize. And I think of everyone to date that we've recognized on this wall, Dura is the kind of people we want to recognize. And I think it was a pleasure to have known him. We thank you for having your dad be part of our life. I wish you could see camp today, and I think he'd be very proud.
I know it would be.
Please excuse my oversight. I'd also like to ask Mr. Humphreys if he'd like to speak about his dad.
Thank you, kind sir. As Dennis said, last time I was here was about 30 years ago when you dedicated a building back up the way to my dad. My brother and myself were here. My brother would have liked to have been here today, but he's on a flight to very old kingdom on a business trip. And then the time before that I was here after that, but the time I remember before that was right after the fire. Just down with my dad, and it was heartbreaking. He took one look around and said, "We got an awful lot of work to do." Anyways, I wanted to thank everyone for the honor of this. And my dad was very, very proud. He loved Boy Scouts. He was proud of the Silver Beaver Award, which is in his jacket when we carried on. So, again, thanks an awful lot. We appreciate it.
And then if we could have Mr. Ed Tavares, please, to speak for Mr. Edwin Spencer. Ed Tavares.
I haven't shown anything yet.
Just you showing up, Ed, makes us clap.
Ed Spencer, many people have forgotten. We never knew it. My first contact with Ed, I think, was with Troop 20, sponsored by Our Lady of Assumption Church in New Bedford. It's a Cape Verdean church, Roman Catholic, and he was institutional representative, what we now call charter organization rep, and also the chairman of the troop. Ed had a background in scouting. I'm not sure where it came from. I did know that he was registered in Fall River with some scouting group. To his credit, he, along with Mike Ramus, the scoutmaster, became the first troop to start camping here in the summer as a troop. Up until that point, scouts came as individuals. But this is the first time the troop arrived with the scoutmaster and the assistant. And they came year after year after year. And Ed made sure that he had a parents group behind him that ran affairs so that they paid for the kids to come to camp. Before the kids went to camp, they collected pine cones for the Christmas wreaths they were going to make to sell at church the following Christmas. Ed was behind us. This is his idea. Then my next working with him, we've been trying to get an Order of the Arrow established in what was then Cachalot Council. And the Scout executive had a bad experience with the Order of the Arrow in another council, and he kept shoving it on. I kept bugging him, and he finally gave up. And he said, "Okay, take care of it." I didn't know anything about the Order of the Arrow. I just knew that the Order of the Arrow was something we needed. So I got a hold of Ed, because I knew he was in the Order of the Arrow in Fall River, which was a different council, not necessarily council.
And Ed took care of all the details. He conducted all of the elections. He arranged for the team to come from Fall River at the first ordeal here at camp. He put it together. Then we go on, and I'm not going to get upon everything that's in the picture, but as time went on, Ed, aside from camp, went on to take wood badge. He became a sleepy wood badge man, had worked on wood badge staffs, but and quite well known outside of the council. But his interest was Cachalot. The first thing he did in terms of conservation, I don't think there was even a conservation chairman at the time. You see that field over there, Tom Curran Field. When we got to camp, that was all trees. Nice. And they took the trees down, but all we had was sand, which was kind of messy with a lot of things. And Ed said he could make grass grow there, because several people had tried and failed. Well, he developed a program, I don't know who he consulted, but of planting certain things and plowing them under, and after about 3 years, we had grass growing. So you can still see that we have grass. The original Ed was responsible for that. He was on the Camping and Activities Committee, actually with John Humphreys, and then became chairman of a subcommittee of that, the Conservation Committee. And you know about the big fire in 1964. And Ed was the man that orchestrated the whole reforestation. He created the plan, he made contacts with the right officials in the state government and so forth. He was the band leader, if you will, the composer maybe, of the reforestation camp. And he was very disheartened. And as John Humphreys said, he did a lot of work. And Ed oversaw all of that and put it all together. A tremendous undertaking. And so today, we want to honor Ed. Ed Spencer, however, cannot be with us. He's in the nursing home. And I'd like to have Vic Sylvia come up and receive for him.
Was 91 years old. He couldn't make the trip from Washington, D.C. So what we did is we began the process of videoing the event. We had one of our members, association members who work in Washington, D.C., make a presentation to Mr. Denault at his home. What we decided to do, we met Mr. Spencer at the nursing home. Mr. Spencer is 92 years old, in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. And in consulting his charge nurse and some of the other people at the nursing home, we were willing to provide ambulance transportation out here to make a presentation, but they felt that it would be a little overwhelming for them. And we agreed, it's just much too hot for us, never mind for a 92-year-old man used to being in a air-conditioned nursing home. So what we've agreed to do is we're videotaping the entire event. At a later date, we will go to the nursing home in Scout uniform. We will make a presentation to Mr. Spencer's nephew, who may try to be there, and a former Cub Scout that he had while he was in scouting. And hopefully, being in uniform, we might be able to jog his memory and maybe get a little bit more information about camp from him, but at least be there to make a presentation to him. So, on your behalf, we will make a presentation to Ed personally. Thank you.
Before we move to the waterfront for our dedication, I just thought it'd be fitting to recognize two people here whose names are already up on the wall, Ed Tavares, who you met, and Mr. Larry Harney. They are already represented on our wall, nominated by the membership and voted on by the membership for their amazing work and dedication to Cachalot as well. So, thank you, gentlemen. For the next